This video is brought to you by CatBeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
Imagine a WWE run by Vince McMahon in 2021 as we are now 4 weeks away from what is potentially the most important WrestleMania of our lifetime, only for Vince McMahon to rip up the script, cancel all creative plans that he currently has in place because he now wants something bigger for WrestleMania 37. Imagine a WWE run by Vince McMahon in 2021 where the potential WrestleMania 37 card is looking more like a Backlash pay-per-view. Imagine a WWE run by Vince McMahon in 2021 where we have the likes of Ricochet, Andrade, Angel Garza, Aleister Black, and Keith Lee all off of television at the same exact time. Imagine a WWE run by Vince McMahon in 2021 where he feels it's needed to bring back John Laurinaitis as head of talent relations for World Wrestling Entertainment. Folks, imagine WWE in 2021 having the worst WrestleMania season of our lifetime. That's exactly what we are getting right now. And what the hell happened on NXT? Why do we have new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions? And why is the creative in NXT looking more like the creative of Monday Night Raw? We will talk about it right here on episode 368 of Off the Script. What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 368 for your Saturday, March 13th, 2021. I am JD from New York. And before I get into anything today, because I have an abundance of news and I feel like it will be a very rant-heavy show, my thoughts and prayers, first and foremost, go out to Rebecca Quinn, a.k.a. Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, and their entire family, as Becky Lynch posted this week that her father had passed away. So my thoughts and prayers go out to her entire family during this difficult time. Guys, we got a lot to go over today, man. It is unreal how a lot of people in the community are just brushing this by, man. They're just looking the other way. It's no sweat off their back. Nobody has an opinion about it. All the most vocal people in the community, they just sit there with their hands in their fucking lap and they do what they need to do because they're good little soldiers. They can't say anything bad about WWE. This is the worst WrestleMania season I have ever, as a fan, been a part of. It is truly embarrassing. Now, I got two conflicting reports about what we will see, what is planned, what is not planned. I don't know who to believe at this point. I'll give you guys my opinion on it all. But never mind that. What's being reported, what's planned, what's not planned. You watch Monday and Friday. This is the worst WrestleMania season, the most unorganized WrestleMania season, the worst WrestleMania season of all time. When you think it can't get any worse, it just somehow gets worse. And it's a clear indication that those in charge right now need to go. They need to go. And it's bleeding into NXT. I hated this week's NXT episode. I did. I couldn't stand it. Balor and Cole was great. And the Io Shirai Toni Storm match was great, but the creative behind everything in NXT is starting to genuinely piss me off because this is not what we have come to expect. Well, maybe lately, but in the NXT tenure that we've all kind of invested our time in when they were in their high time, this is not what we expect from NXT at all. The creative is more reminiscent of Monday Night Raw, and they made an absolute disgrace and mockery of newly crowned tag team champions in the women's division. Why we needed more tag team championships in the women's division, I don't know. We already have a set of women's titles on the main roster that could easily have been brought down to NXT, and I don't know, maybe you bring some prestige to those after you kind of bury them for about 2.5 years. I want to get the rants started right away, man. I feel like I'm giving you guys a glimpse into how I really feel about all this stuff. So let me get the bullshit out of the way, and then we'll get into the news. I want to thank you guys so very much for joining me. If you are new around here, please hit that subscribe button. We cover WWE every single week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, live for Raw, AEW, and SmackDown. And if NXT is moving to Tuesdays, there will be NXT reviews live on the channel if they do indeed move to Tuesdays, from which I am understanding they still are, even though there are rumors right now where people are saying that NXT might stay on Wednesdays. I hope to God not. And it's truly best for business if they do move to Tuesday nights away from AEW. But if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would really, really appreciate it. We are number one in the community when it comes to all these podcasts every single week, every night live during Raw, AEW Dynamite, and SmackDown. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up. The thumbs up helps out the video tremendously, and it really costs nothing. If you guys want to support, that is truly the best way to do it, because YouTube, they get signals. Hey, people like this video. People are thumbs upping the video. People are leaving a comment. All that stuff, man. All that stuff added up helps out the video, so make sure you guys do all that for me. Leave a comment, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell, do all that stuff, and you're helping me out tremendously. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, man, at JD from NY206, that's Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you guys go and do that. We are over 31,000 followers on Twitter. Thank you guys for that. We are nearing 9,000 followers on Instagram, so make sure you guys go and do that as well, as I have more content coming up in the weeks to come. If you want to support the show, several ways to do that. Number one, Patreon. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. We got the Off the Script baseball bat beer mugs. We got the Are We Live t-shirts. Now exclusively on Patreon only. So make sure you guys go and do that for me if you want some of those exclusive Off the Script items. The website for t-shirts, still there, man. Bonfire.com. Make sure you guys go and get your t-shirts. As of this week, all of them are still on sale. Capbeast.com is sponsoring the show today. If you guys want your embroidered hats, your custom-made hats, you guys know what to do, man. Capbeast is the best. Capbeast.com is where it's at. And also, today, sponsored by The Ridge. Ridge.com/script10. You guys are going to get 10% off, and you can get yourself a nice Ridge wallet, maybe a nice commuter backpack, maybe a army knife. Unbelievable, man. They got some great stuff. I pretty much own everything on the Ridge's website, and I love it. I use everything every single day. Ridge.com/script10. Make sure you guys go and get yours today. Let's start at the top, man. I feel like I said at the top, I feel like it's going to be a very rant-heavy episode. Andrade. I love Andrade, man. Andrade is in one of the best WWE matches I've seen in the last decade. Yes, Andrade CN Almas versus Johnny Gargano at TakeOver Philadelphia for the NXT Championship. This is something that really kickstarted Johnny Gargano becoming the heart and soul of NXT. Unbelievable match. I even told him in person when I seen him at a meet and greet in Queens, right here in New York, at La Boom during an Evolve show. Told him right to his face, man. And then that was actually before he went and had that great match with Ricochet at TakeOver during Royal Rumble weekend. I forgot which one that was. I believe it might have been Texas or something. I don't remember which one. Phoenix, maybe. But I told him right to his face, and he said, yeah, if you enjoyed that, wait to see what me and Ricochet got planned. I'm like, oh, shit, man. I'm like rubbing my hands with anticipation. Fucking awesome, man. Andrade is an underutilized talent, and it's criminal that WWE did not do more with him and has not done more with him. I don't know where he is. I don't know what the holdup is. I know that he is engaged. I think so, from what we've seen on social media. We know that he's linked with Charlotte Flair. They may or may not be engaged, but I do think that they are. He may be engaged to Charlotte Flair from what I recall seeing on social media. So that adds to the ever-evolving bizarre nature of why he's not being used on television, because you would figure WWE wants their golden goose, their queen, their blonde android queen to be happy. I can't imagine Charlotte is happy with her future husband being buried by Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon. I just don't find that to be a situation that she would allow to have happen. This is very weird to me. We all know how great Andrade is. You might not be a fan of Andrade. You might deem that he is generic, or there's nothing about him that stands out, or he doesn't speak English, or whatever the case may be, whatever invalid excuse that these social media goblins tend to come up with. I think Andrade is a huge asset to WWE if used in the right way. They didn't do anything with him. They had a star-making couple in Andrade and Thea Trinidad, a.k.a. Zelina Vega. They did nothing with it. They just let it be. And they Monday Night Raw'd it to death. It died. They were great on NXT. They clearly didn't know how to book them on Monday Night Raw. And then they actually took Thea Trinidad away from Andrade. They took Vega away from Andrade, and they just let him die a miserable death. Same thing with Angel Garza. So now it is being reported by Wrestling Inc. in an exclusive that Andrade asked for his WWE release on Monday. Good. Why should you sit in the prime of your career because WWE won't use you and just be content? Hey, man, at least I'm employed by WWE. I'm making more money than I would be if I was anywhere else. Some people, they enjoy the paycheck. Some people, they want nothing but the paycheck, and they don't give a shit how WWE uses them. That, to me, is weak. That, to me, means you don't believe in yourself. That, to me, means you don't want to challenge yourself and get better. And if you're not getting better every single day and you're not challenging yourself and you're not going out there to be the best version of yourself every single day, then why the fuck are you here? Why are you here? And WWE, I could say that about several performers in the company that just kind of exude that type of behavior. It's written all over their body language, but WWE is as guilty as anybody here. Why are you employing people as a business if you don't plan on using them? Who the fuck deems you, Bruce and Vince and Michael Hayes and all these other fucking people, Ed Koskey, and now John Laurinaitis and Mark Carrano and would Beaver fuckface Kevin Dunn, who deems these people the end-all, be-all in the realm of pro wrestling? Oh, we see nothing for you here. Sit down and behave. Who the fuck are you to tell Andrade that you see nothing in him? Well, because you see nothing in him, that doesn't mean that he could leave and go somewhere else and be successful? Is that what you're telling me? That's what I don't like about WWE. They have no grasp on talent at all. None at all. And their behavior is reckless. I don't know why you're paying this guy if you're not going to utilize his ability. Move him back down to NXT. He did the best work of his fucking WWE run in NXT. Why not give him back to Triple H and let him do what he used to do down there? Who knows? Maybe he would aid NXT and round them out to be a better show on Wednesday nights. A little bit more watchable, a little bit more enjoyable. We could get matches with Andrade and Adam Cole, Andrade and Finn Balor, Andrade and Dexter Lumis, maybe Andrade and Johnny Gargano again, Andrade and Tommaso Ciampa, Andrade and Cameron Grimes. The list goes on and on. Andrade and Santos Escobar, Swerve, Bronson Reed, LA Knight. The list goes on and on. I don't know why you wouldn't move him down there in hopes to maybe make NXT better on Wednesday nights against AEW. Oh, that's right. WWE won't move Andrade back to Wednesday nights. They won't move him back to NXT because if Vince and Michael Hayes and Bruce Pritchard and Ed Koskey and Laurinaitis and Carrano and Kevin Dunn, if they allow one of their main roster guys now back down in NXT and Triple H takes them, hits the reset button, repackages them, gives them a new lease on life, and they end up getting over. And they end up doing good things, great things. How do you think that looks to the main roster and all the management goblins on the main roster? It comes off as if all of those guys failed. So clearly, you will never see Andrade or Black or Keith Lee or Ricochet or Garza or any of these guys that were brought up from NXT who are now dying a miserable death on the main roster. You will never see them down on NXT for that very reason. And WWE should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. They are in the business of taking talent, molding talent, making talents, and presenting that talent so that the future of your company is set for years to come. And WWE has bypassed so many top-tier indie talents signed by WWE, and they deem them not worthy, or they deem them, we don't need these people. They're not superstars. We got nothing for you. You got fucking Bad Bunny on goddamn fucking TV. You got Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon as a possible WrestleMania match, but you can't figure out plans for Ricochet or Andrade or Keith Lee or Aleister Black for WrestleMania. But Shane McMahon and Bad Bunny have WrestleMania matches in the pipeline. Is that what you're telling me? I hate everybody on WWE's management side. I do. I wish the worst outcomes in life for them, because that's what they are doing to everybody that I just mentioned here. And these guys are not the last to feel the wrath of WWE management. There will be more to come. This is why I'm forever fearful of a Tommaso Ciampa or a Johnny Gargano or an Adam Cole to make the main roster. Can you imagine if this was Adam Cole and he made the main roster and then we heard reports from Wrestling Inc. Adam Cole asked for his WWE release because they find no value in Adam Cole. Meanwhile, Adam Cole's probably one of the greatest pro wrestlers on the fucking planet. And more I look at Adam Cole, I see the second coming of Shawn Michaels. I don't really understand any of this. I just don't get it. Vince McMahon himself is funding NXT. Vince McMahon is funding everything that Performance Center churns out. Why are you taking everything that you're putting in, taking it, and then throwing it away as if it's expendable? You're going to allow all these men and many, many more, women as well. You're going to allow all these men and women to walk into your company, and then you're going to allow them to walk out into another company for them to do great things, only for you to eat your words in the end and then want them back because they did something somewhere else. It's not the way it works. Sometimes that's exactly what the talent needs. But a guy like Andrade and everybody else that I mentioned, I am looking forward to the day where they all collectively give Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard the middle finger and say, fuck off. You wasted my time in the prime years of my career because you didn't think I was worth it. Go fuck yourself. I can't stand a promoter or a promotion acting like God, thinking that a talent can't get over because they say so. How the fuck do you know? You changed everything about them coming up from NXT, and then they failed because you mishandled them. Keith Lee was buried on night 1. Ricochet was buried after about 3 months. Andrade, Garza, Black, they all had things changed about them. Every single one of them had things changed about them. Black, for Christ's sakes, was putting an eye patch. He was made to look like fucking Captain Long John Silver. I don't know if he's a pro wrestler or if he's selling fucking frozen fish sticks down aisle 8. You should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Unreal with these fucking people, man. Talent wasted. Hit list number 1 for me. You want to get on my shit list? Do what WWE's doing to these 5 guys. I can't stand it. And if you don't think Ricochet is going to be main eventing in AEW sooner rather than later, you're a complete idiot. Same thing with Black, same thing with an Andrade, same thing with the Keith Lee. Can you imagine those 4 guys on Dynamite every single fucking week, man? Jesus Christ, I hope to God it happens. That's the money that Tony Khan should be saving, storing away for when those guys are free, because you all know they're leaving. They're all gone. You don't want me? Somebody out there will. And if they don't go to AEW, they'll be in New Japan. WWE should be absolutely fucking ashamed of themselves. Ashamed. Now, there's an update on Aleister Black as well. There's an update on Black. Apparently, according to Meltzer, that Black, he's stuck in catering until his WWE contract runs out. This is something that he mentioned on the Observer Live. He's stuck in catering until his WWE contract runs out, unless Vince McMahon has a huge change of heart and he decides he likes Aleister Black, who right now is 35 years old, and decides to find a spot for him on the show. It was reported back in February that McMahon does not see anything in Aleister Black or Andrade, for that matter. So that's why I'm pairing this report with the Andrade one. And it appears that his position has not changed in the past few weeks. Now, Black apparently was signed back in 2016. Meltzer kind of insinuated that Black back in 2016 signed a 5-year deal with World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, I don't know what month his contract is up, but 5 years from 2016 would make this year. Maybe, for all we know, Aleister Black asked for his release as well. And him and Andrade did it collectively. I would not be shocked if that was the case, if both guys asked for their release. But Aleister Black, WWE clearly had no direction. They changed literally everything about Black. They took away his theme music. They took away his entrance, which was two of the biggest things about him and his overall presentation. When they had the old music and they had the old entrance, Vince McMahon was changing things here, and you know how he came up through the fucking smoke and the creaking sound when the platform was raising up. They changed everything about this guy. They had him cut these fucking cryptic promos. Nobody knew what the fuck he was talking about. Aleister Black was best when he said less. Aleister Black was a guy about presentation, about body language, about facial expression. You're over here having him fucking recite goddamn Shakespeare on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. All while hiding in a fucking closet. I'm sure he sniffed the ammonia. It was a lot better than watching Monday Night Raw. I mean, I'd probably end up joining him if that was the case. Then they ended up feuding him with the Mysterios, or Rollins rather, while he was battling the Mysterios. Then they had Rollins take his eyeball. They took everything away from him. They put him in fucking pants, long pants. They took the tights away from him. They took away his entrance. You didn't see him make an entrance for months. He just run out. and try and be Mr. Hero. Then he got his eyeball taken away in storyline. They put him in a fucking eye patch. They turned him heel. Dana Brooke and Titus O'Neil were drafted ahead of him in the last draft, never to be seen on SmackDown after he was drafted to Friday nights. It's pretty much Aleister Black on the main roster, folks. And he's been kept off because WWE, no doubt about it, is being absolutely petty about what his wife did while she was employed, opening up an OnlyFans after Vince McMahon had pretty much brought down the ban hammer on third-party platforms. She then opened up, after that was initially stated, opened up an OnlyFans account to sell bikini pictures on there, or whatever she was doing on there. And then she went and did her Twitch and continued to do her Twitch after Vince McMahon shut everybody down. Then she got fired. So what do you think Vince McMahon's going to do? He obviously can't take it out on Zelina Vega. He just fired her. So to get his anger out there even more so after she's long gone, oh, this schmuck is married to her. I'm going to take out my anger on him because of what she did. Oh, my God. She did such a terrible thing. Now you lost not one, but two. And you're going to lose Andrade and you're going to lose Ricochet when his contract's up. But he's the fucking idiot who re-signed a contract back last year or whenever he did. Keith Lee, he continues to post on social media. Trust me, guys, I miss you all as well. Yeah, where the fuck are you? Where the fuck are you? That dimension that's opened up, that black hole that opened up called Monday Night Raw, it swallowed you and it's not spitting you out. Bruce sunk in his claws. He ain't letting go, bro. He's like a fucking velociraptor. Done. It sucks, man. It really sucks. And I pray to God that Adam Cole stays in NXT for the duration of his WWE run. I cannot envision Adam Cole going the same way as all these guys. I can't. That is absolutely embarrassing by WWE, and every single management fucking cretin should be ashamed of themselves. Absolutely ashamed. Who the fuck are you to deem others not worthy because you said so? A 60-year-old Bruce Pritchard is the fucking Mr. Know-It-All of World Wrestling Entertainment, of pro wrestling in general, right? Sure thing. Got news on WrestleMania, which Andrade and all those guys will not be a part of, unless they put them in the Battle Royal to be eliminated in about 6 seconds. WWE's aiming for 45,000 fans each on night 1 and night 2. That is way more than what I originally had proposed at 30, Super Bowl at 25. I figured WWE would do 30, maybe 35. They're aiming for nearly 50% capacity on night 1 and night 2 inside Raymond James Stadium, which I believe holds about 80,000 people. So good for them. WWE are reportedly having 45,000, or at least hoping to have 45,000 fans in attendance for each night of WrestleMania 37 next month. WrestleMania will be the first time in over a year that WWE has been able to welcome back fans to one of their shows at Raymond James Stadium, which, by the way, if you guys do not know, maybe you were living in a cave somewhere, hosted Super Bowl back in February. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter is reporting that initially WWE had hoped to welcome 30,000 fans on both night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania 37, but the goal is now to have 45,000 fans at Raymond James Stadium on Saturday, April 10th and Sunday, April 11th. Meltzer says that the city of Tampa held a meeting with local hotels earlier this week in which they were told that WWE is pushing to have 75% attendance for both nights, more than 50, I guess, 75% attendance for both nights at WrestleMania 37. The capacity for WrestleMania 37 with the stage would have been 60,000, which means a 75% attendance would take that number to 45,000 for night 1 and night 2. WWE confirmed this week that tickets will go on sale Tuesday, March 16th, and ticket prices for WrestleMania range from $35 to $2,500 per ticket, if you guys want, and that is per night. Now, the ticket information and tagline was announced, like I said. The tagline for the show, which you are hearing and will hear for the next 4 weeks, is back in business to signify the return of fans to their shows. At this point, the only thing confirmed is that fans will be at Mania, but nothing is confirmed for future shows. And like I said, April 10, April 11, 45,000 people. I believe there will be pods available. And it's going to be similar to what AEW is doing with their shows inside Daly's Place, with group tickets and pods and everybody seated together in groups and masks and CDC guidelines, social distancing, all that stuff. They're taking the utmost precaution here for WrestleMania. And the Hall of Fame is happening. There is no official word on where the Hall of Fame is happening, but there's been talk of it being a ThunderDome event. And they just announced Molly Holly for this year's current class. All of last year's class that did not get inducted will be in this year. They will get inducted this year, plus the 2021 class. So it's going to be a big, big deal. I will keep you guys updated on what's happening with the tickets. Obviously, I told you guys last week that I would talk about it if it was something that was reported. And this is what is the latest as far as tickets go. But I'm still contemplating with myself whether I want to even be down there or not. I floated the idea around in my head. I'm not sure if it's really worth it. I don't know what else is going on down there. I'd love to meet you guys. I'd love to have a meet and greet of sorts, but I don't know if I want to put myself through all of the restrictions and flying with the mask on and do this and that and all these guidelines. I much rather watch it from the comfort of my home, do my work here, make me some money that weekend. It's going to be a very, very busy week. So with the week that's lined up, and I'll get to that in a second, it's probably something that makes a lot more sense for me to be at home. But anything else on the ticket sales, guys, I will let you guys know on the podcast for sure. But ticket information is now going to be Tuesday next week. Back in business is WWE. So that's what they got planned for all of that. As far as the ThunderDome goes, what happens after WrestleMania? What happens with baseball season moving on and starting their regular season? Coming out of spring training, we got the Tampa Bay Rays, who clearly play at Tropicana Field. WWE may have to set up shop somewhere else. WWE could move ThunderDome if this is the case, and they have ideas possibly of moving it inside a venue that hosted a past Royal Rumble event. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that WWE is arranging flights to Tampa for post-WrestleMania 37 Raw and post-WrestleMania SmackDown. Thus, this is an indication that WWE plans to keep its tapings in the Tampa market. The latest was posted by Meltzer on the website, and it reports that WWE officials have been having talks with the Yuengling Center at the University of South Florida in Tampa. As of this writing, there's no confirmation that the two sides are discussing a potential residency for the ThunderDome setup, but the timing is very interesting. At the end of the day, no matter where WWE moves the ThunderDome, it will look the same on television. They built the setup for an arena, the first home at the Amway Center, and then Tropicana Field. You guys notice that there really is absolutely no difference whatsoever, and that was a smaller regular venue where the Orlando Magic play, I believe. It's either the Magic or the Heat, not sure which one. One of the basketball teams plays there. And then obviously Tropicana Field, which is a big baseball stadium. It didn't look any different. It looked identical to what they did inside the Amway Center. Now, the Yuengling Center, which was once known as the University of South Florida's Sun Dome, hosted the 1995 Royal Rumble pay-per-view. In addition to Saturday night's main events in December 1985 and 1988. So there is some WWF history inside the Yuengling Center, which was once known as the Sun Dome at the University of South Florida. Sooner rather than later, folks, WWE is going to be back on the road, and more states and cities are opening up, and there's now capacity limits at several venues for sporting events that are nearing 40, 50%. So WWE, I don't know what it's going to take for them to say, you know what, let's hit the road again. Let's map out. I assume it's going to be a lot of work to map out flights to cities and hotels and then following all the guidelines for all these different places where WWE has to be. But the more and more cities that open up, Texas is completely open up. Florida's completely open up. You got, I believe, Maryland is now 50% capacity. Connecticut, I believe, is at 50% capacity as well. So New York on the list as well. I don't know what is going on with the Barclays or Madison Square Garden. They could be nearing 30%, 40% come the beginning of the spring. Everything's opening up. So I'm very curious to see where WWE takes their show and if they do go out on the road instead of staying centralized in one locale for Raw and SmackDown. It probably makes more sense for them to continue doing what they are doing now for as long as they can. But the live atmosphere, fans, legit, genuine fans, they are needed more now than ever at these shows. I am tired of watching these shows. Just me personally, man. I know you guys feel the same way. I'm tired of watching these shows where I see on AEW, I see all the roster out there, front row. You know, the AEW fans are very loud when they want to be, but the WWE shows have had no fans. The NXT fans that they allow inside the Capitol Wrestling Center is not enough to do anything. I'm watching NXT on Wednesday night. I'm doing, you know, the same shit that I do every Thursday, watching it. Bored out of my mind because it's just not the same presentation. I see Adam Cole make his way to the ring. I see him do his Adam Cole Bay thing in the ring. And there's no life to it. No matter if there's live human beings there or not. You know, the 50 or so people that they got there, not really doing much of anything. I need live human beings inside these venues. These shows need to have a life of its own or a life of their own. Not for the virtual geeks on the screens doing this and WWE telling you who to boo and telling you who to cheer. I can't stand looking at it anymore. If there's one thing I'm looking forward to about WrestleMania, it's nothing to do with what they have planned for the card. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania because of the energy that I know is going to be inside Raymond James Stadium with 45,000 people. It's legitimately going to be the first time in over a year where we have normal. I can't wait. That's the one thing I can't wait for. Everything else I could not give a single shit about. But that's what I'm looking forward to. And that's what these shows need. NXT, Raw, SmackDown, AEW, they all need it. I think we have reached our expiration date. We need live WWE shows, live wrestling shows with human beings. So WWE moving the ThunderDome. If they move one more time, it could be the last that we see of the ThunderDome. And I hope that's the case. Vince McMahon. Imagine Vince McMahon running WWE in 2021, scrapping original plans for WrestleMania and ripping up all of the creative he had in mind. According to WrestleVotes, it happened. WrestleVotes is reporting that the Mania card is not close to even being finalized at this point. This is very unusual because in previous years, most of the card would have been figured out by December. On a good year, it would have been figured out after SummerSlam, or at least the direction in which they wanted to go in. There's no word on what could be changing, but as of this report by WrestleVotes, only a couple of matches appear to be a lock for the show. And that is Edge versus Roman Reigns, for now, for the Universal title, and Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Those are the only two matches announced right now. Now, the Roman Reigns-Edge match, that can change, depending on what happens at Fastlane with Bryan and Roman Reigns. Bryan could be added to make it a triple threat match. Vince wanted it bigger. That clearly makes the match bigger. And it makes the match a little bit more unpredictable as well. And it gives all of you Edge heads out there with the idea who, you know, you guys want Edge to win the WWE Universal title, instead of him winning the title in a one-on-one match, which I am, and many people are, completely against, especially against Roman Reigns, who should not lose or take a pinfall at all. Having Bryan in there, if Edge was to walk out of WrestleMania and send the crowd home happy on night 2 and win the Universal title, I could see him pinning Daniel Bryan, winning the title. Reigns would then have every reason to complain that he deserves a rematch. I could absolutely see that happening. So that match isn't even locked in. Sasha and Bianca, that's locked in. I don't see that changing at all. But did Vince McMahon really scrap the card? Did Vince McMahon really axe all of the creative direction for WrestleMania 37? Not according to Ringside News. WrestleVote says the plans are not finalized. But Ringside News is reporting that Vince McMahon has indeed finalized the card for WrestleMania 37. Ringside News reports that everything was locked in for WrestleMania as of this week, with no major revisions. The conflicting reporting coming out this week, they didn't mention WrestleVotes by name. The conflicting report coming out this week likely has to do with the information being restricted more than usual by management. Now, if you guys remember, I talked about this last week. WWE has cracked down on the flow of information coming out, and very few people in the company outside of Bruce Pritchard and other high elite officials have been told about plans for WrestleMania. It was noted last week that people on creative were told to clear things with management, aka Vince McMahon and Bruce, before sharing plans with any of the talent. This is being done to crack down on information leaking out about WrestleMania, cards, and potential spoilers. Ringside News cited that a tenured creative team member saying things are on a need-to-know basis right now, and that the card is absolutely finalized. So while things may have been changing last week, McMahon apparently made up his mind within the last few days. That's what Ringside News is saying. Now, I don't know who to believe. Normally, Ringside News, I do trust on many of their exclusives. I do believe Ringside News on many of their exclusive news articles. But I also believe WrestleVotes at the same time here, because he rarely is wrong about anything, is it's got to be a bad week for WrestleVotes. Whoever's in charge of that account's got to be a very bad week that they are wrong about anything. It may be somebody that we all know already that's running that account. I don't know. Could be Triple H himself. I don't fucking know. But WWE, I could absolutely believe, has no plans finalized at all outside the two matches that I announced, and even one of those matches isn't concrete. So it's definitely a 50-50 feeling here. Just look at the shows. Just look at the shows. Do they have anything planned for WrestleMania? It may seem like that in some instances. Outside of Reigns and Edge, Daniel Bryan's in the thick of things for the Universal title. Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair have been going back and forth for the SmackDown Women's title, only to heat up in the next couple of weeks. We don't know if Sasha's turning heel or not on Bianca. They do have that tag team title match at Fastlane against Nia and Shayna still coming up. So that may be a very clear indication on where Sasha Banks goes as far as her character and WrestleMania. But we got Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman. I mean, give me a break. Bobby Lashley more than likely will defend against Drew McIntyre. It could be a triple threat match with Sheamus thrown in there. I don't know why we would get Sheamus thrown into the WWE title picture. I'll talk about that a little bit later. We got The Miz and John Morrison, more than likely against Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. That was a match that was rumored weeks ago. And now with The Miz out of the WWE title picture, I assume that they will pick that back up. Apollo Crews and Big E. That could potentially be a WrestleMania match. I mean, outside of that, I don't know where anybody else fits in. You got the likes of AJ Styles, who are not factoring into any plans at WrestleMania at all right now. How do you have AJ Styles on your roster and him not have a major WrestleMania match? We don't even know what Randy Orton's doing at WrestleMania. More than likely against Bray Wyatt, but WWE hasn't really given any indication that Bray Wyatt is returning anytime soon. Outside of what Alexa Bliss has done to curse Randy Orton and have him spit out black goo. This WrestleMania build has been absolutely atrocious on every level. This is the most important WrestleMania of our generation, the most important WrestleMania of our lifetime, because of the current state of the world right now and the fact that WWE is now finally allowing fans back in attendance. And this is how you're handling it. You're taking it for granted because it's WrestleMania and people will want to show up because it's simply WrestleMania. They don't give a fuck what's on the show. They're just happy to be back inside a sports venue and have the ability to buy a fucking $14 Budweiser. Sitting with their goddamn fucking masks on in their own pod away from fucking other life forms. They're just happy to be there. That's exactly what Vince McMahon's thinking. That's exactly what management is thinking. Meanwhile, I've questioned everything that they've done on the road to WrestleMania. I've booked WrestleMania 3 different times and have given you a WrestleMania card that is absolutely on par with being WrestleMania. It's so sad that this is what the current product has been reduced to. Look at what they did at the Royal Rumble. They had Bianca Belair and Edge winning the Royal Rumble. On what planet would anybody legitimately complain about that? We complained about it because it's WWE. I complained about it because I knew exactly where they were going to go. And what they did was exactly what I was afraid of. They prolonged. They didn't have any concrete plans. They dilly-dallied around. Who's choosing who's going after what title. Edge should have immediately come out after he embraced Drew McIntyre on Monday Night Raw, the night after he won the Royal Rumble, and had him challenge Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. Why must you convolute everything? Drew McIntyre did not have an opponent for WrestleMania. At that point, he didn't. Bobby Lashley wasn't built up for that. Randy Orton was still in the middle of feuding with Bray Wyatt. AJ Styles, he already wrestled Drew McIntyre at TLC. Sheamus is not a WrestleMania main event guy. No matter how great he's looked in recent months, he's not a main event guy. It's not. And that's not a knock on Sheamus. He's just not. He's just not. Then you got Keith Lee, who's been off of television. Aleister Black, Ricochet, Andrade. These are guys that could have easily been slotted into major spots on this show. They have not even been booked on the show for months. Keith Lee was dead on arrival. Aleister Black has been fucking sitting in catering for months because WWE's taking whatever they feel about his wife out on him. And Ricochet, I mean, him wearing those boy shorts, I don't see him main eventing fucking superstars, let alone WrestleMania. WWE had no plan for Drew McIntyre because they legitimately have nobody built up around him. You can't put him in there with just anybody, which then led us to the Brock Lesnar situation. Is Lesnar coming back? Are they going to do a redo that they did last year with Lesnar in front of fans this year because now fans are allowed at WrestleMania, 45,000 to be exact? What good would that do? Somebody had to think, what good is that going to do? We put McIntyre over against Lesnar last year. No matter how you look at it, fans or no fans, Lesnar is Lesnar. We can't have him show up only to do the same thing over again and pretend that last year didn't happen because it did. You even ushered out the Big Show in there to have him put the exclamation point on how good Drew McIntyre is and how over he's going to be. You can't do that. At some point, you got to think about Brock Lesnar's value as well. They had nobody. WWE had Edge. There's one guy that he never wrestled. There's an intriguing match. Edge versus McIntyre. Simple. Simple. Then that one decision alone would line up WWE to get the Elimination Chamber ready. It would pretty much give you everything you need just from that one decision. All right. Now we can build Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and finish this thing up. Ex-friend versus ex-friend, right? Best friends battling each other. That gives Drew McIntyre some big momentum going into WrestleMania, getting a big win over Sheamus. Maybe Sheamus gets the best of him for a couple weeks. He gets the big win. at the Elimination Chamber over Sheamus. The Elimination Chamber on the Monday Night Raw side would be nothing. You wouldn't need an Elimination Chamber for the Monday Night Raw side. Maybe for women, that would have opened up an Elimination Chamber for the women to determine Asuka's opponent, being that Sasha Banks more than likely was going to be challenged by Bianca Belair. And the SmackDown Chamber, being that Edge won the Royal Rumble, he gets to challenge the WWE title or champion on Monday Night Raw. That leaves the Elimination Chamber for SmackDown to be opened up, which would then lead to Roman Reigns getting his opponent at WrestleMania. And then Roman Reigns can defend the title against a Cesaro or a Shinsuke or a Kevin Owens again or somebody. Anybody. Could have been a WWE title defense. It could have been a tag team match. It didn't have to be a title defense for Roman Reigns. But WWE went about everything so terribly that they made a mockery of the Chamber, looking back at where they were at the Chamber, moving forward to Fastlane. Everything that happened at the Chamber was deemed irrelevant and unimportant, like WWE usually does. Now we're moving on to Fastlane. Everything that happened then doesn't matter. Instead of actually keeping the prestige of the Chamber intact, the importance of the Chamber intact, WWE coming out and having Edge choose Drew McIntyre, which then leads to WWE having the Chamber to determine Roman Reigns' opponent. By the end of the Chamber, WWE would have had 2 WrestleMania main events in the bag. Then you would have had Asuka's opponent lined up. Then you would have had Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair lined up. WWE, coming out of the Elimination Chamber, barely had 2 matches announced for WrestleMania. If they did things right, WWE could have had 4 matches for WrestleMania. Top tier matches. WWE should have absolutely introduced Rhea Ripley to Monday Night Raw following her being in the Royal Rumble and being one of the final 2 in the Royal Rumble. What sense does it make for Rhea Ripley to show up at the Royal Rumble only for her to get that momentum, then to sit out on Monday Night Raw for 6 weeks until you show the same vignette over and over again? What good is that doing Rhea Ripley? And what good is that doing the women's division? Rhea Ripley could have won the Elimination Chamber. We could have had Rhea Ripley versus Asuka, Sasha versus Bianca, Edge versus Drew McIntyre, and Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. You mean to tell me that what I'm about to read to you as far as the WrestleMania card, that my idea is not better than what Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon have already come up with? All while maintaining the importance of the Elimination Chamber? And then like a bunch of fucking idiots, they added Fastlane. Because it's business as usual for WWE. They got to kickstart the Peacock era. Even though we all know Fastlane is a pay-per-view not needed. You should be building up Monday Night Raw and SmackDown with the matches that you're going to give us at Fastlane. I don't really understand this. So what do you do with the other matches? Big E versus Apollo, IC title. Where Keith Lee and Ricochet are, Andrade, Aleister Black, where these guys are. Why are they not on TV to give Matt Riddle the toppest, that's not even a fucking word, the top tier opponents that you could possibly have for Matt Riddle at WrestleMania? Can you imagine a Matt Riddle versus Andrade, or a Matt Riddle versus an Aleister Black, or a Matt Riddle versus an AJ Styles, or a Matt Riddle versus a Ricochet, or a Garza? If these guys were built up correctly instead of being buried in catering, Matt Riddle would have another top-tier match in the pipeline, and WrestleMania would have another important title match. Imagine Matt Riddle versus any one of those guys. I don't really understand the logic behind that, how you look at yourself and say, whatever, fuck it. Then you got the tag team title situation. What exactly are you doing with the tag team titles? Are you guys all right with tag team champions in the Hurt Business losing to the New Day on Monday Night Raw when the Hurt Business themselves have not been really treated all that good as tag team champions? Yeah, they're there with MVP, and yeah, they're being led by the WWE champion now and Bobby Lashley, but that doesn't make them good tag team champions. Look at what is around them. What has WWE supplied them as far as challengers? We got the New Day. Now we're set for the New Day versus the Hurt Business again for the tag team championships. As if we didn't see that with Miz and Morrison before the Hurt Business, or Cesaro and Nakamura before Miz and Morrison. Well, it's the same shit over and over again with the goddamn New Day. You got two teams on Monday Night Raw that are on TV every single week. Retribution's a team, but they're fucking trash. The Lucha House Party, they're irrelevant. You got four teams, two of which are fucking absolutely worthless. And then the other two teams are the two main teams in your division. Two teams like that, mixed with those other two teams, really means to me, you got two teams in that division. Two teams do not make a tag team division. Meanwhile, on SmackDown, you got the Street Profits, you got Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, the Dirty Dogs. You got Chad Gable and Otis. Chad Gable may be on his way out of WWE. If you guys watched my SmackDown podcast on Friday night last night, he may be gone in about 2 months, leaving Otis for what? To do another singles run? To be a comedy character? Where's Tucker Knight? Why'd you break up Tucker Knight? Why'd you get rid of Heavy Machinery? They're a good tag team. Tag teams are needed right now in WWE. You're treating it as if it doesn't fucking matter. There's no tag teams on SmackDown. The Dirty Dogs, the Street Profits. Now you're pairing King Corbin and Sami Zayn together because they got nothing to fucking do at WrestleMania. Chad Gable and Otis, they're not a fucking tag team. 4 tag teams, 2 of which are not real tag teams. 4 tag teams on SmackDown. How can you call these divisions? Why not just come up with the concept for WrestleMania and have fun with it? You got Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler moving from brand to brand. If I'm not mistaken, hasn't Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax showed up on SmackDown, being that they're Monday Night Raw superstars holding the women's tag team titles? Isn't the ruling for the women's tag team titles you can go to any brand you want? You've already eliminated NXT because Vince doesn't want his main roster teams down there. His main roster talents down there. They have to come up with their own tag team championship, which I'll rant about in a little bit. But they could go to SmackDown. Why is it not the same rules for the men? Why are you doing something with the women that you're not doing with the men? Why aren't the men's divisions able to float back and forth? The tag team champions should be able to go over to the other show. Why is there a need for 2 tag team championships in WWE? If not that, merge the fucking divisions permanently and have both divisions represented on both shows. 1 division for both shows. And then come up with a unification match at WrestleMania. Why are we not doing that? Then you can lay out the undercard match for WrestleMania. Or the undercard matches for WrestleMania. Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon. And whatever else you got planned. Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. Bad Bunny getting his WrestleMania match with Damian Priest, Miz, and Morrison. Why are you not making this the best show that you could possibly make? Why have you taken everything for granted here? WWE has shown you every single week that they don't give a shit about creative. They don't give a shit about logic. They don't give a shit what they put on or what they give you for WrestleMania season because you are a sucker willing to spend $2,500 for a seat at WrestleMania to be there because you haven't been given the right to be inside a venue for over a year and a half. Inside a venue for the biggest wrestling show of the year. WWE is suckering you in to watch something that sucks because you haven't been allowed to do it for over a year and a half. Meanwhile, what they're giving you is not something that I really correlate with WrestleMania. It doesn't signify to me that it's WrestleMania. It looks more like Backlash than anything. Backlash, Battlegrounds, Clash of Champions, Cyber Sunday. Looks like a fucking D-level pay-per-view on paper. This is what Vince McMahon has lined up. These are the so-called finalized plans for WrestleMania. Even when I look at this, I don't even see finalized. Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. It's a mid-card match. It's not a main event match. It's a mid-card match. Roman Reigns versus Edge for the Universal title. More than likely main eventing night 2. Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's title. Fine. That's been the one constant on this entire WrestleMania season. Asuka versus Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's Championship. I don't know who in their right mind is interested in seeing Charlotte Flair challenge for the Raw Women's Championship again. against Asuka at WrestleMania again, as if we didn't see it 5 other times before this year. Is anybody interested in Charlotte Flair winning title number 15? I know I'm not. WrestleMania with or without Charlotte Flair, there's no difference. It makes zero difference. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler will defend the Women's Tag Team Championships against Lana and Naomi and Natalya and Tamina in a triple threat match. That's WrestleMania to you? That is WrestleMania to you. If that's WrestleMania to you, you clearly need to seek help. Big E versus Apollo Crews. Excellent. It's been the best thing underneath Roman Reigns on WWE TV. IC title match, I'll deal with it. I'll take it. SmackDown Tag Team titles, Dirty Dogs, Ziggler and Rude versus the Street Profits. Do you care? Do you fucking care? Here's a question for Bruce and all the creative idiots backstage. What happens after WrestleMania? Who do the Street Profits have lined up when they win the titles back? Same thing goes for the New Day. Who's there for the New Day? New Day versus Hurt Business for the Raw Tag Team titles. United States Championship, Matt Riddle versus Mustafa Ali. Matt Riddle had to lose a one-on-one match to Ali for this match to make sense. Right there, that shit creative. Ali is great. The role that he's playing with Retribution, nobody takes it serious. So the fact that he's getting a United States Championship match, I don't think anybody cares at this point based on how Ali and his group of guys and women have been booked. It's a nothing match. Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. Who cares? WWE has done everything to ruin this entire feud. It is more cheesy now than anything. The prolonging of this feud has just made me not care. Black goo, Satanism right in plain sight, Bray Wyatt, the overhyped character that The Fiend is. I don't care. And the last thing I want to see is another fucking funhouse match that doesn't resemble a wrestling match. But in this case, their last wrestling match was so fucking awful at WrestleMania that a funhouse match might actually be best for both guys. And Damian Priest, Bad Bunny, they will challenge The Miz and John Morrison in a tag team match. Does that remind you of a WrestleMania? Does that resemble a WrestleMania to you? That is fucking embarrassing. It looks like a Monday Night Raw episode for WrestleMania. Your first show back in front of live fans in over a year. You should be fucking ashamed of yourselves. Creative writer Andrea Listenberger quits WWE. Dave Meltzer confirmed in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter that Andrea Listenberger has quit WWE. I wonder why. You can't get anything across in these creative meetings. Bruce doesn't give a shit about you. He treats you like a fucking piece of shit. And then he goes to Vince McMahon to bury everybody that he works with. And only his ideas are used because he's the one who tickles Vince McMahon's nutsack just right. Why did she leave? She's a non-entity there. You come to work to creatively write, to help, to make somebody better, to write for television, to write for a character. What has Andrea Listenberger done in the last year? She was actually the person involved most with the Mandy Rose and Otis storyline going into last year's WrestleMania. Has WWE given her anything else? I believe she was actually part of the Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose breakup as well. She was a part of that. And then they ended up shipping Mandy Rose off to Monday Night Raw to be fucking tag team partners with catering. And Sonya Deville is now a constable or a fucking runner for Adam Pearce on SmackDown. Andrea Listenberger, one of the writers, just quit the company, says Meltzer. She's been with the company since December 2019. This was reported first by Ringside News and then picked up by The Observer. Meltzer also confirmed another report from Ringside News, which claimed Ed Heller had joined Ed Koskey and Ryan Callahan as head writers for the company. It's pretty odd there. I thought they weren't making any more hires because of the pandemic. I thought they weren't giving out any new raises or promotions or hiring anybody for big-named management positions because of the pandemic. They refused to give out bonuses and raises to everybody that is currently employed there. But here they are hiring Ed Heller to join Ed Koskey and Ryan Callahan as head writers. What sense does that make? Is that not a conflict of interest with everybody that you have currently employed on the fucking roster right now? Now, granted, everybody that works for the company received $3,000 worth of WWE stock. Now, the stock obviously has to go up for them to sell that and make some money on what WWE had gifted them. But that's not really what they were promised. It's not what they were looking forward to as far as annual bonuses for being there all year and working in the middle of the pandemic to get these TV shows on the air. So they brought in Ed Koskey, Ryan Callahan to join Ed Heller as the head writers here. Christine Lubrano was the one that they just hired 2 months ago. Now, she is, I believe, overlooking the creative team in some capacity. I don't recall what her main job title is, but she, Christine Lubrano, was the one woman that was reported when Bruce Pritchard had to be the one to tell everybody that they weren't getting raises. He backed out, told her to do it, and she was only there for a month. So that's who she is. She's overseeing the creative department. Now, with all of this, I'm not surprised with Andrea Listenberger quitting the company. It is what it is. She will not be the last creative writer to quit WWE, but just by that alone, it goes to show you that they're not getting their voices heard. So why would you want to be there? Just like a pro wrestler on the WWE roster, like an Andrade, like a Black. Why do you want to be wasting the prime years of your career sitting around while WWE tells everybody that they don't believe in you or you have nothing for them to offer? I don't understand that. So she quit. Good for her. Quit in the middle of a pandemic. It's gotta have, it's gotta have some fucking mental strain on you. You're going to have big balls for something like that. Just get up and quit. I love it. That means you believe in yourself. John Laurinaitis. WWE making all these new positions. They're hiring all these people. Ed Heller. They hired Ed Heller. They hired John Laurinaitis. Is this not a conflict of interest? They didn't just hire John Laurinaitis back. They created a brand new position for him. He's been put back into the position of head of talent relations. That's what was originally reported. Dave Meltzer reported this news. He has yet to confirm this story, but Laurinaitis is slated to report to WWE Executive Vice President of Operations, Brad Blum. Now, per the report, the talent relations department is being split into talent management and talent branding. The talent branding side is believed to be a talent agency looking to book WWE talent for appearances, movies, television commercials, other third-party engagements. It was added that Laurinaitis' new role will be general manager of talent, which he will start immediately. Now, in 2004, Jim Ross was replaced as head of talent relations by Laurinaitis when Ross stepped down from his executive roles within the company. He's now the main play-by-play on AEW Dynamite. Jim Ross has called this position a thankless job because this person will hire as well as fire talent in addition to dealing with talent over various issues and concerns. Now, this position was clearly in the hands of Mark Carrano. If you guys watched Total Bellas or Total Divas, you would have seen Mark Carrano running around and he's dealing with all the talent and he's that guy backstage. Now they got Mark Carrano and John Laurinaitis, and they split the talent relations department into the two separate 50-50 talent agency and talent branding. So now there's two divisions of the talent relations. Now, Laurinaitis remained in that position until 2012 when he resigned. Since he's now back, this is the first time since then, he's worked as an on-air personality from 2011 and 2012 as general manager of Monday Night Raw, as you guys remember. People power. People power. He's also one that worked in the role of producer, and that was back in 2001 when he was with WCW. But they went out of business soon thereafter. Wrestling Observer Radio and Dave Meltzer discussed the company's decision to bring back John Laurinaitis. He explained that Laurinaitis and Carrano will be working together and now will be playing the roles of the bad guys backstage. Sounds like a fucking tag team on WWE television. Folks, a lot of people were asking for my opinion on this. I don't really understand why you're focusing so much attention on Mark Carrano and now the hiring of John Laurinaitis. This is what it boils down to. John Laurinaitis was hired by WWE because John Laurinaitis is not going to give Vince McMahon any feedback. He's not going to challenge Vince McMahon. He's not going to argue with Vince McMahon. He's not going to go against Vince McMahon in any way. Just look at who Vince McMahon has surrounded himself with. You got Ed Koskey. You got Ed Heller now. Ryan Callahan. They're the head writers. I'm sure they're all in the know about what's going on with WWE and creative. Clearly it goes through Bruce and Vince, but I'm sure they're keyed in on everything as well. Now you got John Laurinaitis back. You got Kevin Dunn. You got Mark Carrano. These are all people that are not going to challenge Vince McMahon. Bruce Pritchard being the number one guy that's not going to challenge Vince McMahon. Bruce Pritchard's like second in command here. Everybody's like, JD, why do you got such a problem with Bruce Pritchard? Because Bruce Pritchard is mini-me. He's Vince McMahon's mini-me. When people don't get Vince, they get Bruce. And when they don't get Vince, they're getting everything Vince is thinking and saying through Bruce. And Bruce is going to lie. Bruce is going to cheat. Bruce is going to weasel himself out of any and all situations with talent, whether they need something, whether they want something, whether one of the creative writers needs or wants something or has an idea. He's going to remove himself from the situation. And then he's going to knock on Vince's door, and he's going to hide in Vince's corner of the office, and he's going to do whatever Vince McMahon asks. They hired John Laurinaitis because John Laurinaitis is a yes man. Vince McMahon wants yes men around him. But John Laurinaitis and Mark Carrano are not head of talent relations the way you guys are thinking. When I think of head of talent relations, not only do I think of somebody managing the talent and rounding everybody up and giving them all the information that they need, whether it's what they're doing on that show for that particular day or an appearance here, or you need to do this interview here, or you got this segment here, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, that's all fine and good. But I look at that as being one aspect of talent relations, but the other aspect of talent relations is the same way that I saw Jim Ross do it. He'd go out there to these stadiums, to these shows, to these amateur wrestling events, and they'd go out there and specifically scout talent. I don't see John Laurinaitis or Mark Carrano doing that, not that I'm aware of. Do you see them doing that? So when people think, oh, John Laurinaitis is now a head of talent relations, it has nothing to do with the talent. It's just Vince McMahon just hired another yes man to do his bidding who's not going to challenge him on anything because Vince doesn't want anybody to challenge him on anything. It's Vince's way or get the fuck out. Head of talent relations is not Mark Carrano. Head of talent relations is not John Laurinaitis. Head of talent relations is Triple H. Head of talent relations is Matt Bloom. Head of talent relations is William Regal. How many times have you read in the past that William Regal was out and about scouting talent? Or Triple H has his finger on this pulse or that pulse or on that promotion or this promotion? Head of talent relations in WWE, and I know he was given a public demotion of sorts, which we all know is bullshit. He's running NXT now. They'll ask for him to be on the main roster whenever they need him, whenever Vince needs to step away, whenever they need somebody to fill in for something. Triple H is the guy that is actively out there molding talent, creating talent, putting talent on NXT in front of a WWE camera, in front of a WWE fan on a WWE show. Triple H is out there fucking scouring the globe for talent to bring on into WWE so that Vince McMahon is better set for the future. As far as I'm concerned, Triple H is and will always be head of talent relations. He's always going to have his finger on the pulse. Is he perfect? No, he's not. There's been some fault in Triple H's game as of late. But Triple H is more of head of talent relations than anybody in this company, Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard included. Mark Carrano and John Laurinaitis included. This is nothing you should be concerned about. How they handle their talent backstage and where that talent has to be and what needs to be done, that's their job. That's their job. They're not actively seeking new talent to bring on into the WWE. Hey, Vince, we found this fucking 21-year-old fucking prodigy. Go look at him. I got a video. Let's bring him on in. Let's give him a dark match. Let's give him a tryout. What are you guys so bent out of shape for John Laurinaitis back in WWE? I couldn't give a single shit about John Laurinaitis because I know he's not a non-factor. All I know is Vince McMahon just added another fucking dick sucker to his team of yes men. It's nothing to get bent out of shape about. Triple H is head of talent relations. It will always be that way. It will always be Triple H until NXT ceases to exist. That's it. So don't get so bent out of shape about this. I'll be right back after this small commercial break. We are going to talk about SmackDown. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw and the plethora of NXT bullshit that we've seen this week, including 2 nights of TakeOver. A set of tag team titles that are absolutely unnecessary. And what's happening with Karrion Kross? I'll tell you what, because Vince McMahon met with him and he may be done in NXT. See you guys in a little bit. You know, it's nice to talk about things that you genuinely enjoy from time to time. Not to say that I don't enjoy my pro wrestling. I just don't enjoy my creative right now in pro wrestling until things truly change. You guys know how I am. But what I do genuinely enjoy, man, is my Ridge wallet, my Ridge products in general. Take a look at this, man. This is the new Damascus Ridge wallets. You guys can save 10% off your very own Damascus Ridge wallets or any Ridge wallets or any Ridge product for that matter using code SCRIPT10 at checkout, ridge.com/script10. And I want to thank them for once again sponsoring the podcast right here on Off the Script. So great to carry around, man. It doesn't awkwardly bulge in your back pocket. I was never a big wallet guy, but the Ridge, no doubt about it, made me a wallet guy. I really don't understand why people are still carrying around old, decrepit wallets, man. Seriously, what are you guys doing? Old hotel room keys, gift cards, receipts, pictures you probably don't even remember where or when they were taken. Why have we as people been able to move on to smartphones from those large, oversized flip phones, but can't update your wallet? I don't really understand that. The Ridge is where it's at. Streamline your life every single day. Now, the Ridge actually holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash. As you guys see there, it's got the cash strap, which I think is more secure. You got the strap or the money clip, completely up to you. There's over 30 styles and colors, including this Damascus carbon fiber, burnt titanium, forged carbon, which is another one of my favorites. I really love it. Don't take my word for it, but they got over 30,000 5-star reviews, mine being one of them. This one wallet, you'll be able to carry it around for the rest of your life because the durable materials and the lifetime warranty, man, unbelievable when it comes with the Ridge wallet. The Ridge team is also confident that you'll like it, that they will let you test drive this for 45 days. If you don't like it, they'll give you a complete full refund. And the best thing I like about the Ridge wallet, man, The one thing that I love about the Ridge Wallet, when I'm going out to my craft beer bars and I sit down at the bar and I enjoy my nice cold beverage, I could be walking in the city no matter where I am. The Ridge Wallet has RFID blocking technology so that you are safe and secure from digital pickpocketers. Now, they just don't deal in wallets. I got a nice little knife here. Look at that, man. My Ridge knife. I absolutely love it. I carry it around with me everywhere I go. Again, streamline your life in every possible way. Guys, you can save money on not only a knife, a backpack, a wallet, no matter what they got on the website. Ridge.com/script10. It's like I'm going to stab Bruce Pritchard if he comes up with another terrible creative decision. Ridge.com/script10. You guys are going to use code script10 at checkout. Free worldwide shipping. And I want to thank them once again for being such a great friend and a great sponsor right here on Off the Script. All right, man, let's break this down. We got the weekly ratings and news and rumors coming out of Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, AEW, and NXT. I primarily want to focus on NXT because a lot of news came out of Wednesday's show. I didn't like Wednesday's show. I didn't like the news that they broke on Wednesday's show. This is where the rant is going to come in on today's podcast, man. But let's start with SmackDown. Not much happened on SmackDown. Daniel Bryan won a steel cage match against Jey Uso to challenge Roman Reigns to win the right for a Universal Championship match at Roman Reigns at Fastlane, by the way, which I don't know where they're going with this Daniel Bryan story. It seems like Daniel Bryan is being paired with Roman Reigns more than Roman Reigns is with Edge, which I don't really understand. Maybe that's where the changes are coming into play for Vince McMahon and WrestleMania. But SmackDown, we're not talking about yesterday's show. We're talking about the week prior to last night's show. That episode drew 2.166 million viewers. That was actually up from the previous week of 2.051 on Fox. Now, the first hour saw 2.153. Second hour did a 2.179. It goes to show you what WWE can do when they promote a match ahead of time. They promoted the steel cage match a couple days in advance. People got excited about it. Seems to me that a lot more people are interested in Daniel Bryan against Roman Reigns than Edge against Roman Reigns. The ratings proved it. The steel cage match was hyped. They clearly give a shit still about Daniel Bryan. And Edge wasn't on the show. Edge was on the previous week's show. So they were up this week. Edge wasn't on the show. So what exactly is Edge doing as far as his impact on ratings? He's not having much of an impact at all, it looks like. Right? So I don't really understand why Edge and Roman is the right match over Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. I don't understand that. I don't really get it. But the show pulled in an average of 0.60 in the 18 to 49 demographic. That was number 2 for the night. That was up from the 0.5 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic the show did last week. That's a pretty substantial number as far as ratings in the 18 to 49 demographic. Is Daniel Bryan generating more interest for the 18 to 49 demographic than Adam Copeland? Huh? Certainly looks like it to me. Or maybe it's just the fact that WWE promoted the steel cage match ahead of time. I don't know. Very interesting, to say the least. SmackDown was in the middle of the pack for that night's in-network viewership. It was behind 2020 Magnum PI, Blue Bloods, Shark Tank, Dateline NBC, and other shows on network television. King Corbin defeated Montez Ford in a one-on-one match. Great. But I'm supposed to take the Street Profits serious as the number one contenders for Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler's worthless SmackDown Tag Team titles. Awesome. Angela Dawkins turns right around and defeats Sami Zayn in a one-on-one match. This is what we get, folks, when WWE has no tag teams, and now they're pairing actual legit tag teams in singles matches. I don't watch SmackDown and their tag team division to see Angelo Dawkins in a one-on-one match. Not really what I want to see when I tune into Friday Night SmackDown. Bruce. Huh? Dominic Mysterio defeated Chad Gable. Gonna say this right here, right now. Dominic Mysterio should not be defeating Chad Gable. Dominic Mysterio should be in NXT with his father, feuding over the Cruiserweight Championship with Legado del Fantasma. No, but he's on SmackDown defeating Chad Gable. Why? Just add them to the fucking plethora of tag teams that I'm sure will be vying for the tag team titles at WrestleMania. Dominic and Rey Mysterio. Booyaka, booyaka, 619. Bianca Belair defeated Shayna Baszler, another tag team champion, losing on television. Great. Don't know why the match was booked anyway. Bianca needed a win, so she's not losing on the road to WrestleMania. Cesaro defeated Buddy Murphy. Good to see Buddy Murphy back on TV. Wow, where's Aaliyah? Where's Rey Mysterio's family influence over Buddy Murphy? If you missed the podcast last night, I went into detail about why WWE abandoned it and what Mr. Murphy is trying to do to salvage storyline and make an explanation out of nothing. And then Daniel Bryan defeated Jey Uso in a steel cage match to now earn the shot at Roman Reigns at Fastlane for the Universal title. I was hoping that WWE didn't do this at Fastlane, really. But now here we are. But where does this leave Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania? You're certainly not leaving Daniel Bryan off of WrestleMania's card, right? He's got to be in that Roman Reigns Edge match now, right? Makes me hopeful that the fact that they're booking this match and Fastlane happens 2 weeks before WrestleMania, it gives me hope that WWE is going to give me a fuck finish at Fastlane between Bryan and Reigns to then only include him in the championship match at WrestleMania. Because what exactly are you going to do with Bryan 2 weeks before WrestleMania? You're going to throw him right back into the Cesaro mix with Seth Rollins? Doesn't really make sense now, does it? Give me a break. And if you really want Edge to win the Universal title at WrestleMania, it's certainly not happening against Roman Reigns, right? Bruce! I'd much rather him pin Bryan over Roman. AEW Dynamite. Tony Khan must not be a happy camper this week, man. Neither should Paul, a.k.a. Triple H, Daddy H. AEW Dynamite viewership drops big time on Wednesday night. NXT stays steady for the big championship night that they had. Dynamite, which featured fallout from Sunday's Revolution pay-per-view, which, by the way, garnered $7 million in pay-per-view buys. The biggest number in pay-per-view for pro wrestling since 1999. There's not a market for pay-per-view out there, right? Says the AEW fucking haters out there, right? $7 million is a lot of money. Money that you'll never see in your fucking lifetime. This lifetime and the next 20. So please keep talking shit. Was it a good show? Yeah, it was a thumbs up show. Did they have bad? The bad was bad. The good was good. And if you guys want my opinion on it and Jesse's opinion on it, we were very fair. Very fair. That video's on the channel. AEW Dynamite, fallout from Sunday's Revolution, did 743,000 live viewers. That is down from the go-home show of 831,000 viewers the week before. They did a 0.32 rating in the 18 to 49 demo, down from last Wednesday's 0.33. Last week, AEW got a big boost thanks to Shaquille O'Neal working his first match with Jade Cargill in AEW against Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet. NXT, they did 691,000 viewers. That was down from 692, so they remained steady, while they did a 0.18 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. That is down from last Wednesday's 0.20. NXT featured big matches. Finn Balor versus Adam Cole for the NXT title, and Io Shirai versus Toni Storm for the NXT women's title. AEW ranked number 4 in the top 150 shows on cable, while NXT was number 25. So, let me get this straight, man. AEW, they lost almost 200,000 viewers from the week prior. Just about 200,000 viewers. Now, clearly everybody watched the week prior with shock, more so out of curiosity. There was a lot of curious viewership on last Wednesday's show. but you're coming out of a major pay-per-view that saw a exploding barbed wire death match in the main event for your AEW World Heavyweight title between two of your biggest stars in the company, and that's what you generate for a post-Revolution show? How many people were actually turned off from AEW thanks to the botched ending and the way Tony Khan and management handled it after the show was over? You don't think the AEW fans are paying attention to legitimately everything that Tony Khan is saying after these shows are over? You don't think that they went into Monday thinking, fuck this company, I'm going to take a break from this shit, they're letting me down, I'm disappointed, I'm not watching on Wednesday night no matter what they got going on. Now, granted, there wasn't really anything big on Wednesday's show. Wasn't really advertised much of anything. We got the Inner Circle War Council. I don't think anybody really knew what was going to happen during that. I think we were all swerved in the end when MJF formed his own faction. They main evented with that. They had a TNT title match between Darby and Scorpio Sky. There really wasn't much of anything. But the fallout of AEW, I think there was basically no curiosity from anybody coming out of Revolution because of the way that they fucking handled everything in the post-event scrimmage press conference that Tony Khan did. Everybody made excuses about it. That turned a lot of people off. It really did. So mixed with the fact that they didn't really advertise anything major on Dynamite, that played a factor in AEW losing 200,000 viewers. Now, this is something that comes in waves. They'll probably be up on Wednesday's show. They got a major show announced. Pentagon Jr. vs. Cody. I'm hearing Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker was absolutely insane to a point where they got a standing ovation in the main event. Falls Count Anywhere, I believe, unsanctioned, lights out match. Heard it was crazy and worthy of a main event. And then obviously you got the Bucks and what's going on with the Death Triangle. And then you got MJF forming a new faction, this new Horseman stable, which they do have a name right now. I'm not revealing the name, but you guys can go search that yourselves. I know what it is. I'm not going to tell you here unless you want to watch it on Wednesday. But they'll be up. It comes in waves. But Dynamite was a very newsworthy show. Revolution was good. Was it disappointing? Absolutely. Did they do things that they shouldn't have done? Absolutely. Do they need to go in and correct obvious mistakes? Absolutely. They need to handle these things better. I think a bunch of people who are avid fans said, you know what? I'm just going to step away for a couple weeks and see what happens. Coming out of that show, everybody was disappointed, and that translated into losing 200,000 viewers. Now, on Dynamite, we've seen Rey Fenix defeat Matt Jackson. That was a great match. Really embodies what AEW is about. Awesome match. Rey Fenix may be the very best pro wrestler in the world right now. Cody Rhodes defeated some jobber, set up a match with Pentagon Jr. I'm very much looking forward to that match. Ethan Page had his debut botched on Dynamite against Lee Johnson, as we heard. Defense! Some sound audio issues that were very prominent during his match. It sounded like an NBA game in the background. I heard sneakers squeaking on a basketball court and fucking buzzers going off. So Ethan Page had his debut ruined on Dynamite. Hopefully he gets a redo on Wednesday. Hikaru Shida, Ryo Mizunami, and Thunder Rosa. They defeated Nyla Rose with Vicky Guerrero, Britt Baker, and Maki Ito. Get her off my TV. She's fucking cringe. So that happened, and then Britt Baker attacked Thunder Rosa after the match was over, and we got this lights-out, unsanctioned match on Wednesday night that I'm very much looking forward to. Darby Allin defeated Scorpio Sky to retain the TNT title, and Scorpio Sky turned heel on Mr. Darby Allin, so we'll see what happens with that. And MJF was fired from the Inner Circle, forms a new faction, and they are now at the pinnacle of their career. Or MJF is anyway. Wink, wink. William Regal on NXT crowned Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez as the first ever NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. Let me get this straight. Actually, you know what? I got the news article. We'll go into it. Let me go over what happened on the show because I got a lot to say here. EO defeated Toni Storm to retain the NXT Women's title. Don't know why they did Toni Storm dirty like that. Where does she go from here? I don't know. Kind of soon to have that match happen and then for her to lose. Doesn't really make sense for me, to me. Pete Dunne defeated Jake Atlas. Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon defeated Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez to become the second NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. Great job there, dog. Xia Li defeated Katie Carter via disqualification due to Casey Catanzaro attacking everybody in sight with a crutch. Legado del Fantasma defeated the grizzled young veterans. MSK and Breezango came down and they did their thing. So looks like we're getting all these tag teams involved as we head towards TakeOver. Stand and deliver. And then Finn Balor defeated Adam Cole to retain the NXT title. Kyle O'Reilly, he was there to confront Adam Cole. And then Karrion Kross was there to stare down Finn Balor, giving you guys a glimpse into what Triple H is doing for TakeOver WrestleMania week. It was a good show, a watchable show, a passable show. But man, oh man, the creative on NXT is getting absolutely Monday Night Raw-like. So on the open of NXT, we saw William Regal unveil NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. They had all the women lined up. It's a very deep roster. All the women from NXT were there on the stage, on the ramp. He was addressing all of them. He calls Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez to the ring. Talks about how great the division is and the fact that they won the Dusty Finals, the Women's Dusty Cup. Pulls the cloth and unveils Women's Tag Team Championships. Okay, great. We got Women's Tag Team Championships in NXT. Now, before I get into the rant, WWE's original idea for the Women's Tag Team titles has been revealed. Brian Alvarez talked about this on The Observer Live, and he revealed WWE's original intentions for the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. They wanted to debut those titles sooner than what they did this week, but they simply weren't ready in time. Now, he says, and I quote, essentially the story is that they came up with the idea a while ago for the Women's Tag Team Championships in NXT. I don't know why, but I think the original idea was that the winners of the Women's Dusty Tournament were going to get the new titles. For whatever reason, I can't answer this question for you. The Women's Dusty Cup ended up being rushed. Remember when the men had double the amount of competitors compared to the women? I don't know what happened, but whatever happened, happened. The belts weren't ready at the end when they crowned the winners of the Women's Dusty. So then they just gave them a trophy, and they got the belts, and then for whatever reason, whether it's because they just did a tournament and they didn't want to do another one, they came up with the idea, well, they got screwed when they faced Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and now they're being given the NXT Women's titles because they were screwed in that tag team match. Folks, when I say NXT is not the same, I think out of everybody in the community, I know more so than anybody that it's not the same. A lot of people, I stopped covering NXT. When they move to Tuesday, I'll cover them again because AEW is where it's at on Wednesdays. Nobody gives a shit about NXT. If NXT is going to be on Tuesdays by themselves, I'll be here live talking about NXT. I was covering NXT when it was by itself on Wednesdays on the WWE Network at 1 hour. I was here every week. Whether it was a short form 1 hour video here, not live, pre-recorded, uploaded, or I did something live when they had something really major happening. That's the only time I talked about NXT. But back in the day, I was one of the very few in the community who covered NXT legitimately because it was the best wrestling promotion in the world. They were giving you the best product out of anybody in the United States and abroad. They were on top of their game, doing everything right. The feel of it, the takeovers, their titles were prestigious. Their roster was fucking unmatched. Everything about it was great. Nobody covered NXT. Now they all cover NXT because of the Wednesday Night Wars. And I don't cover NXT anymore. I talk about it here. I saved it for here. When they go back to Tuesdays on their own, fine. I'll cover it like I do everything else. I didn't cover it anymore because AEW was a lot more entertaining, a lot more interesting to me, and NXT just didn't feel like NXT anymore. Their creative fell off. They lost Morrow. The no crowds absolutely buried that show every single week. There's no energy there. There's absolutely no energy there. You watch NXT and there's no life. When Morrow left, he took the heart and soul of NXT with him. Vic Joseph is not it. Wade Barrett is great, but he's not Nigel McGuinness. He's not. They lost a lot when they lost Morrow and Nigel. Nigel's doing NXT UK now, and Morrow, I only hope Tony Khan is going to offer him a contract for their new TNT show. But more and more, their creative is looking like main roster, Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. Something changed in NXT, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. I know they're competing with AEW, but that doesn't mean you got to adopt the main roster for ideas and put them on NXT. The main roster ain't doing anything right. They're actually losing viewership. Nobody gives a fuck about the main roster. They're writing the worst television that they've ever written, ever. It's not what you want to go out there and copy. What you were doing was right in the first place when you were on WWE Network at 1 hour. What happened to that NXT? NXT was supposed to be the alternative to Monday night and Friday night. Now it's like I'm watching Monday and Friday night on Wednesday. And with AEW, it feels like I'm watching WWE on Wednesday night because they're adopting all their mentalities as well on Dynamite. This is not the alternative that we signed up for. This tag team title confusion here, the way that they handled this, is fucking awful. Let me go back and read to you what Brian Alvarez said. The original idea was that the winners of the Dusty tournament were going to get new titles. And the Dusty tournament ended up being rushed. So what you're telling me is, what I'm hearing is, WWE, they rushed a tournament to get the women the most entertaining aspect of their show in a tournament, while the men had their Dusty Classic. They wanted two Dusty Classics at the same time. What Alvarez is pretty much saying without saying, I'm going to tell you exactly what he's saying. WWE rushed a tournament to combat AEW. They used the tournament as a tactic to combat AEW, knowing that it was rushed and that they didn't have titles. That's what I'm understanding here. Everybody loves a good tournament. Let's get it on TV. We don't have the titles, but we gotta one-up AEW in the ratings. So now you look like a fucking idiot because you had AEW in the back of your mind. So this one can be filed under, folks, AEW effect in the filing cabinet. Just another thing of laundry lists of things that fall under AEW effect. I don't understand why you didn't wait for the tournament when you had the titles. What difference does it make if the tournament happened when it did, or if you prolonged it by 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks? Who cares? Nobody's watching NXT. It doesn't matter when you do it. But now you look like a bunch of creative fucking fools. Because you had Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez win this tournament and got nothing but a trophy. Then you give them a tag team title match, which everybody was assuming was their prize for winning the tournament. A match with Nia and Shayna. Why would the match be happening if that wasn't their prize? Right? They got a title match. So then they get fucked. Some bullshit. Adam Pearce is down there. Nobody explains why Adam Pearce is down there. He had a main roster official with him. They came up with no solution. I'm here to tell you why Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez didn't win the women's tag team titles. It's because Vince McMahon wouldn't allow NXT to defeat the main roster again. That's why Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez were put in the position that they were in. They should have defeated Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, but they didn't because the old man said no. So Triple H said, you know what? Fuck the main roster. We don't need their women's tag team championships. We got the women's division down here. This is the one women's division that matters most in the WWE. I'm going to create my own titles, and we're going to do things our way. But you made everything feel like Monday Night Raw with all of this booking. Vince not wanting Nia and Shayna to be beaten by NXT talent, them rushing a tournament that were supposed to be for the titles, and you only did it to combat AEW because whatever they were doing, they were getting ready for their pay-per-view, and you needed to boost yourselves up to combat AEW in the ratings. WWE, I swear to God, folks, it is so good that they're moving to Tuesday night. I can't stand this shit. I really can't. You have sabotaged an entire brand because you can't grasp that AEW is just going to beat you in the ratings. You've sabotaged an entire brand's integrity by moving them to Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on USA Network when they were fine at 1 hour on WWE Network. And you moved them to Wednesday nights and sabotaged them knowing that Tuesday was probably best for the brand. Who's going to watch on Wednesday night when everybody's watching a much bigger promotion in AEW? Don't you think that NXT deserves its own audience? Don't you think that when you have Adam Cole and Finn Balor for the NXT title and Toni Storm versus Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship and you only get 691,000 viewers on Wednesday night, don't you look at yourselves and say, man, we fucked up. We failed. We got to do better. What are we doing here? I don't really understand you. WWE can put this in the filing cabinet of AEW effect once again. And I said this several times already. Why do we need another set of women's tag team championships? I don't get it. Vince doesn't give a fuck about his women's division on the main roster. His women's division is Charlotte, and that's it. Why do we need more titles? Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler aren't even a real fucking tag team. You have no tag teams legitimately on the main roster. Everything is just put together random women. You don't even have tag teams in NXT outside Raquel and Dakota Kai anyway. The only other teams that I even can think of right now are Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro. They've been together forever. Then you got Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. They're only paired together because Candice is the wife of Johnny Gargano and Indy Hartwell is in Johnny Gargano's faction. That doesn't make them a tag team. Outside that, you got nobody else. Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon, let me tell you something, folks. They're not a real tag team. They're not a real tag team. And then you opted to give Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai the honor of being the first ever women's tag team champions, only to take it away from them an hour later. What do you think that does to the prestige of the women's tag team championships? The fact that they changed hands on night one in 1 hour. And you gave them to Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart, who, in my honest opinion, fantastic performers, but they're not born and bred WWE. Dakota Kai's been there for how long? Has been through how much? Raquel Gonzalez has transformed herself into one of the best females on the roster. And then you're going to take that away from them? I don't get it. I don't get it. And here's the kicker, folks. Dakota Kai is getting the shit end of the stick here. Because they moved Raquel Gonzalez onto Io. So you gave her championships to lose, only to move her on to a NXT Women's Championship situation with Io Shirai to get ready for TakeOver. So where does that leave Dakota Kai? I don't know how anybody agrees with any of this whatsoever. The prestige of the championships are ruined. The championships are forced. They're not needed down there. You already had a set of women's tag team championships that look very similar to the ones you just created. I don't know why you couldn't bring those titles down to NXT and help those titles with the way the women have been booked in NXT. Those titles would have been better off for it. Now, you've made those titles irrelevant. You made the titles that Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are holding now irrelevant. So where's the good in this? Where is the good in any of this? The more titles you create, the less valuable the titles that you currently have are. This is a Monday Night Raw move, folks. A Monday Night Raw move. What should have really been done is if WWE wanted another championship in the women's division, a singles championship would have greatly accommodated everybody there. Now you got to come up with random pairings and random tag teams that aren't real tag teams that make no sense to fit the agenda of tag team wrestling down there that doesn't exist. Meanwhile, most of the women you have down there, like a Toni Storm, who lost to Io Shirai, where does she go from here? She gonna randomly be paired with a tag team when she needs a title shot? To go get a tag team title opportunity against Ember and Shotzi? Or does a singles title benefit her more? A women's singles title that could be looked at as that being an intercontinental championship for the women, or a U.S. championship, or a mid-card something for the women down there. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. And I'm sick and tired of NXT adopting main roster fucking mentality. Tuesday night, go. Get away from AEW and do your own thing. I am tired of you making fucking stupid decisions that don't benefit anybody or the brand at all. Shotzi and Ember now have championships. What good does it do them? What good does it do them? They're the second women's tag team champions. They beat Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Great. To me, they're nothing more than props on Shotzi and Ember. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, they're the ones that get the shit end of the stick. Raquel Gonzalez, WWE's got big plans. Like I said, they moved her on to Io. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But she did defeat Rhea Ripley in that last woman standing match about a month ago. During Wrestling Observer Live, Bryan Alvarez talked about WWE's big plans for Gonzalez, as he noted that it was known months ago that she would be the person to win the title from Io Shirai. Alvarez says, I don't know who's going to win the title, and plans change all the time in NXT. I heard months ago that Raquel is probably the one who is going to beat Io Shirai. You could watch NXT, and if you're blind, you could see that Raquel Gonzalez is going to be the one. What happens to Io? I have no idea. Does she get brought up to the main roster? God forbid. Because Asuka is benefiting so much on Monday Night Raw. God. Just like Adam Cole, I am petrified to see what WWE does with Io Shirai. The other big announcement is that NXT TakeOver is getting 2 nights. Stand and Deliver will be a 2-night event. This is a game-changing announcement on top of the women's tag team titles being announced on Wednesday. It will be a 2-night event called Stand and Deliver. The first night will air on Wednesday, April 7th on the USA Network. The second night on April 8th will air exclusively on Peacock. The news broke on WWE this Wednesday on NXT. The show will be a part of a week-long WrestleMania hectic schedule. Folks, I may be dead at the end of the schedule. Monday, April 5th, Raw. Tuesday, April 6th, Hall of Fame. I have one night off. I'm not covering the Hall of Fame. Wednesday, I might do a watch-along on Twitch. Maybe. Have a couple of drinks, reminisce, and yada, yada, yada. Wednesday, April 7th, Takeover, night 1. Commercials, I'm sure. It's exactly what I want with my fucking Takeover. Commercials. Thursday, April 8th, Takeover, Stand and Deliver, night 2, Peacock exclusively. No commercials. Friday, April 9th, SmackDown. Saturday, Sunday, WrestleMania. Monday Night Raw. The Raw after WrestleMania, and Tuesday, NXT debuts on Tuesday on the USA Network, according to the schedule. April 13th. Folks, why do we need 2 nights of TakeOver? I'm going to file this one under AEW effect as well in the filing cabinet. How could we fuck them one last time before we go and move to Tuesday night? Oh, I know. Let's give them our signature event, TakeOver. Stand and deliver. So clearly this is being set up for the NXT Championship to main event night 1. And night 2, more than likely, the Women's Championship with Io and Raquel Gonzalez. I could see the Women's Championship main event night 1, actually, and get more eyes on Raquel Gonzalez winning the Women's Championship on USA Network, and then they move Finn Balor and Karrion Kross to Wednesday, or Thursday, rather, on Peacock. So I could see the women doing night 1 and then the men doing night 2. That's just the way I see it. That's the way I would do it anyway. But why do we need 2 nights of TakeOver? I mean, I don't understand the company's mentality of quantity over quality. I don't understand it. What can't they do in 1 night that they need to do in 2? Why do I have to get a TakeOver that is probably going to be commercial, riddled with commercials on Wednesday night on basic cable? I don't understand that. You couldn't add 3 or 4 other matches on top of the 4 or 5 matches that you give us for TakeOver originally? I don't understand why we need to have 2 nights. You could add 8 matches to a TakeOver show instead of the traditional 5. Now you got to come up with 4 matches for television, 5 matches for Peacock, 9 matches in total spread out across 2 nights. Couldn't do that on 1 night. Couldn't do that as a Peacock exclusive and save Wednesday for the go-home show. I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And the fact that you're doing TakeOver for 2 nights now inside the Capitol Wrestling Center really doesn't give it any more of a TakeOver feel. Are there going to be fans there, more fans than in general at these TakeOver shows? Are there going to be 400 or 500 people like we usually see on a regular NXT episode? On a random NXT episode on Wednesday night, we're going to see 400 or 500 people? I hope so. So we're getting NXT TakeOver inside the Capitol Wrestling Center with minimal fans for 2 nights. Are there any matches that you give a shit about to see a 2-night TakeOver? Io, Raquel, Balor, Kross, Gargano, Loomis, Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, Tag Team Championship dilemma with Imperium and Breezango, Legado del Fantasma. They hyped up, what's his name, Jordan Devlin coming back from Dublin. He's targeting Mr. Santos Escobar. So there's a nice, decent number of matches there. Who else is wrestling on this show? Who gives a shit? That's 6 matches right there. That's all you fucking need. Women's Tag Team Championships. Who are you going to build up to wrestle Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon? Is it going to be Candice and Indy? There's no other teams. There's no other teams being represented in this women's division that is newly created. 7 matches. You need 2 nights to do 7 matches? TakeOver takes a hit as far as quality goes with 2 nights. I don't want to see more TakeOvers. I don't want to see any more TakeOvers on top of what you've already given us. The more you do them, the less important they will be. The more you do them, the less value they will have. 2 nights of TakeOver is absolutely unnecessary. Both of these announcements made by NXT have been completely unnecessary. Again, adopting the mentality of the main roster is what's killing NXT. Karrion Kross had a backstage meeting with Vince McMahon on Monday. It was reported on Tuesday that Karrion Kross was asked to come to Tropicana Field last week to have a meeting with Vince McMahon. It was said that Vince is very interested in Kross on a few levels. I'm sure Scarlet Bordeaux is one of the primary reasons why he's interested in Karrion Kross. Oh, look, a new blonde toy we could play with on the main roster. Great. As far as the meeting itself, nobody knows how that went or what the plan is for Kross coming to the main roster. Karrion Kross came to WWE in February of 2020, and in April made his debut with the company. Kross was quickly pushed to the top of NXT before defeating Keith Lee for the NXT title at TakeOver 30 in August. He went down and suffered an injury and had to vacate the title the very next week. Kross returned in December and has been a top name in NXT, vying for the title ever since. Many felt once the Finn Balor Undisputed Era storyline concludes, Kross will be getting his championship match, as we seen on Wednesday. If Kross is to come to the main roster, that may not happen. So we don't know. So WWE is in a sticky situation here with Karrion Kross. They really are. You got to think ahead now. You got to think ahead. Who does WWE have on NXT right now? If Kross wins the championship, who does NXT have on that roster that could believably and legitimately be the guy that could be looked at not only by fans but by management as the one to take down the unbelievable, devastating, brutal Karrion Kross? Is there anybody on that roster right now outside of Finn Balor that could give you a believability in beating Kross? The answer is no. There's nobody on that roster. Nobody. Maybe Bronson Reed, but Bronson Reed's not getting a championship match anytime soon. Damian Priest could have been the guy. They called him up to the main roster. Keith Lee, they're going to bring Keith Lee back down to get a championship back from Karrion Kross and remain on NXT? I don't know. It's a possibility. I doubt it, but it's a possibility. It's not a bad idea. There's nobody on that roster. Pete Dunne? Pete Dunne, give me a break. He'd be swallowed up by Karrion Kross. Pete Dunne's not a believable guy against Kross. Kross would fucking break him in half. And Pete Dunne's a tough motherfucker. There's nobody on that roster. So WWE has a very complicated situation here. Do they give the title to Kross? Do they give the title to Kross and keep him in NXT? Then they have to wonder who we're gonna put against Kross to have him lose the championship. Or do they have Balor come out as the Demon King and challenge Karrion Kross for the NXT championship, defend the championship against Kross, have him as the Demon King beat Kross, and Kross gets promoted to the main, demoted, I should say, promoted. I'm not using promoted and main roster in any sense of the word anymore. Demoted to the main roster. But then you got to think, do you really want to beat him before he makes his debut on the main roster? Very complicated situation. I knew this was going to happen. But this is Triple H trying to go against Daddy Vince. Triple H did not want to lose Kross. So Kross was back quicker than anybody anticipated. Triple H wanted him on NXT. They wanted to rush through everything with Kross because he knew once Kross was back and somebody got a whiff of what Kross is doing and what he looks like in the presentation, I'm fucking moving my hands over here like a fucking asshole, bumping into the microphone. Soon as somebody on the main roster got a whiff of what Kross was doing, who Kross was, what he looked like, Scarlet, that's it. And if you don't think Vince McMahon knows what's happening in NXT, folks, if you don't think Vince has a hand in NXT, why is he calling Kross up personally to meet with him at Tropicana Field before Monday Night Raw? You don't think Vince has anything to do with NXT? Vince absolutely has a hand in NXT. That just proved it to you. I don't know what they do here. I don't. It's going to be very interesting to see how they handle Karrion Kross. Is he main roster? He should have been on the main roster after he came back from his injury. Should have been in the Royal Rumble. Don't know why they ever brought him back to NXT, but Triple H wanted to rush him back because he knew in the back of his mind, I'm not going to have this guy for long. Somebody's going to do something here, and then Vince is going to pluck Cross right from Triple H's grasp. That's exactly what we're seeing right now. More backstage details on AEW Revolution. According to Fightful Select, the third-party team that AEW hired to ensure the explosion at the end of the death match went off without any problems were not sympathetic after the botch. A source joked to Fightful that the rigging team might have been a little bit more apologetic if they were the subject of the heat that came down on AEW after this segment was over immediately while they were still alive. So they would have had more heat on them if people went and blamed them more so than they did while they were still alive. Fightful Select noted that they had attempted to contact AEW officials but hadn't gotten anybody on record to comment. Now, the storyline explanation for the anticlimactic finish involving Omega building a dud bomb is what they went with after the show was over. Then they show up on Wednesday night, and Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley, who are definitely two people you want out there to explain a shitty situation like that. Eddie Kingston explained that he blacked out, and Don Callis came out on Dynamite and said that it went all according to plan. They were not going to let Moxley die a hero. 69 me, Don! They joked about. So they tried to cover it up. They did an admirable job, but Tony Khan should have really just sat back and said, you know what, guys, we fucked up. You know, it was a death match. We wanted everything to go right. It didn't. Obviously, we'll do better on Wednesday. Said he ran around in circles trying to give excuses here, excuses there. He came off like a fucking geek. People were telling me that the end of the match shouldn't have even fucking happened. That if the match reaches its time limit, then it explodes. But there was a winner before the buzzer happened, before the 30 minutes was up. Why does the ring still have to explode? I don't get it. They could have saved themselves a bunch of trouble if they didn't try to go out there and be as epic as fucking possible. You got real barbed wire, which, according to fucking shit that I read, they used real barbed wire. And then you got the visuals of the explosions. That's all you need. They had a great fucking match, which is now tarnished because you tried to overdo it and then back up the botch with excuses, which made you look like a geek. Mick Foley, shared a meme joking that the AEW explosion was mislabeled when he ordered it online. And he had a photo to go along with his explanation here. He explained that he felt bad for Omega and Jon Moxley, but AEW should own up to their mistake. Sad but true, he says. I've been there. At the 1995 King of the Death match when the exploding ring underperformed. I feel bad for Mox and Omega, but suggest that AEW deep six the Kenny built a crummy ring story and just admit that mistakes happen and that they will learn from this mistake. Just my opinion. It's exactly what I've been saying for days. Meanwhile, you got a guy like Mick Foley saying the same goddamn thing. Is Tony Khan going to take that into consideration? Hopefully for the next time, he now knows what he has to do. The overall hype for the show felt flat. It just died. Christian, then you got that. Not a recipe for success, man. Speaking of Christian, backstage reaction to Christian joining AEW. Fightful reports that WWE talent were not aware of his signing, but they had suspicions, especially since he was absent from programming after the Royal Rumble and had not showed up in any of the Edge segments while he was building towards a title match with Roman Reigns. Fightful reports, and I quote, higher-ups in WWE told Fightful that Christian not being referenced on WWE TV wasn't a coincidence, and that while they were let down that Christian made the move, it was on the company for not having a contract locked down. End quote. It was stated that one talent spoke highly of Christian as a person and was happy that Christian went on to make himself happy. It was added that several talent in AEW were aware of the signing ahead of the pay-per-view on Sunday, but kept it tight-lipped. Very secretive. Nothing got out. Christian's not a big deal. Clearly not a big deal. He's not an impact to the ratings. And WWE, they didn't offer him a contract. So be it. They felt like he wasn't worth the money that he was asking. So he went to go make the money that Tony Khan, generously offered him. He felt it was right for himself. They put him on Dynamite, already teasing a match with Kenny Omega. Very WWE-esque on Wednesday nights on AEW of all fucking places, while we were promised that AEW was going to be the alternative. I'm sorry. 47-year-old WWE legend Christian is not a fucking alternative. Especially challenging Kenny Omega. When you got Kenny Omega more than likely taking an Impact World title, I think. Knowing them, they'll fuck it up, Impact. They'll probably come up with some fucking excuse. Oh, so we can't make Omega the world champion. We need someone here that's going to be a little bit more regular. I see it coming. That company is as scuzzy as they come. They don't know what the fuck they got to do. But Kenny Omega should be beating Rich Swann or Moose for the Impact World title. He doesn't need Christian in any way, shape, or form. Oh, he's going to be used to put Christian over, and Christian's going to be used to make Omega a bigger heel. None of that needs to happen. Christian can get himself over. He's a legend. A Hall of Fame worthy talent, right? The fuck does Omega need him for? Omega's the second biggest heel in the fucking entire world in pro wrestling, right under Roman Reigns. And with him winning an Impact World Championship, don't you think he's got more than enough people to fucking help him get to be a bigger heel? You can have a whole fucking locker room coming after you for that World Championship. Oh, but Christian and Kenny Omega's going to be a one-off. And why are you jumping to conclusions? He just picked up the title. It doesn't signify a fucking match. What are you watching? What, did Christian come out there to lift the championship up to get his fucking weightlifting in? He picked up the title. That means he wants the title. God, social media are fucking stupid, man. Should not be happening. At all. This is the same shit that we complain about WWE doing. You want me to fucking overlook this because it's AEW? No! Monday Night Raw. Shit. Absolutely dreadful show was Monday Night Raw. Episode drew 1.897 million viewers on the USA Network. That is barely up from the week before, 1.884. The 18 to 49 demo saw hour one at a 0.58, 0.55, and a 0.53 in hour two and hour three. 8 p.m. hour saw a 2.031. Oh my God, man. Am I reading this correct? Monday Night Raw drew something above a 2? There you go. For all the Bobby Lashley fanatics out there, man. Making him the world champion seems to be drawing a bigger number than Drew McIntyre when he was the WWE champion. Awesome. Doesn't mean he's the guy, but good for him. Hour 2, 1.921, and then hour 3, a 1.738. As the show goes on, the show obviously gets worse. Monday Night Raw saw Bobby Lashley in the opening match defeat The Miz to retain the WWE title. Shane McMahon ridiculed Braun Strowman. Stupid is as stupid does. You've fallen so far from the stupid tree. Oh, well, whatever the fuck they were talking about on Monday Night Raw, man. Give me a fucking break with this shit. You got Shane McMahon booked for a WrestleMania match, but leave Aleister Black, Ricochet, Keith Lee, Andrade, and Garza off of Monday Night Raw and off of television. You got Bad Bunny and Braun Strowman versus fucking Shane McMahon booked for WrestleMania, but you don't got a match for AJ Styles? Does anybody find this to be absolutely criminal? I know I do. Drew McIntyre defeated Sheamus in a no disqualification match. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. A typo here. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus went to a no contest in a no disqualification match. Clearly to set up the match happening at Fastlane. Because beating Sheamus is greater than winning something inside the Elimination Chamber. I don't understand any of this whatsoever. So Drew McIntyre's got to go through Sheamus to get to WrestleMania, instead of WWE doing the right thing and having somebody win the chamber to get the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. Am I understanding this correctly? Sheamus is greater than the Elimination Chamber. If you tell me that WWE didn't fuck up WrestleMania season, you yourself should stop watching WWE altogether. Stop promoting garbage. I'm here to tell you nothing makes sense. I'm right and you're wrong. Deal with it. Watch the fucking show. It doesn't feel like WrestleMania season. Watch Monday Night Raw. If you get a sense of WrestleMania season, you must be delirious or drugged up in some way. So now we got this match happening at Fastlane. Because they did it 3 times already, and now we got to get it a 4th time. As if we didn't see the same fucking match 3 different times already. Xavier Woods defeated Shelton Benjamin. Because we got to get the New Day to get a championship match somehow. So why not have one half of the tag team champions lose so that the geeks out there can say, hey, Xavier beat Shelton. Now they deserve a tag team title match. Matt Riddle defeated Slapjack. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeated Naomi and Lana in a tag team championship match. So why exactly are we talking about Lana and Naomi in a WrestleMania tag team title match? It's over. Get over it. And AJ Styles defeated Randy Orton with a phenomenal forearm, with Alexa Bliss interfering, cursing Randy Orton again with the black substance oozing from his mouth once again. All you Fiend fanatics out there, man, you got the worst fucking taste in pro wrestling storylines. That's all I will say. Trash. Absolute trash. The Fiend is better off not coming back because he's probably going to make the entire show that much worse. Like I said, Fastlane. Second main event for WrestleMania. That's something in my fucking mouth here, man. Off the script. Jesus Christ. Brian Alvarez noted, Wrestling Observer Live, that the plan is for McIntyre versus Sheamus in a last man standing match. Great. WrestlingNews.co was told that the last man standing stipulation was decided on Monday morning before Raw actually aired that night. And it will be announced that the winner of McIntyre-Sheamus will challenge Bobby Lashley for the WWE title at WrestleMania 37. As of this writing, the plan is for McIntyre to challenge for the title at Mania. Doesn't mean it's main eventing. Certainly not a main event match to me. It's a mid-card match at best. Bianca and Sasha deserve to main event because, let's be real, folks, you know WWE's pushing this women's agenda quite heavily as of late. And there'll never be another opportunity for the women to main event WrestleMania, so you might as well get it in now. And Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, to me, is much more interesting than Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for a worthless WWE title that they just gave to The Miz 2 weeks ago. Nobody wants to see McIntyre challenge for the title. Nobody wants to see Bobby Lashley lose the title at WrestleMania. Nobody. Mid-card match at best, and WWE has failed the Monday Night Raw build going into WrestleMania, as well as failing the WWE title program going into WrestleMania. And they made everything else before it absolutely irrelevant. Asuka's WrestleMania plans completely up in the air due to a possible concussion. According to Wrestling Observer newsletter, Asuka is out of action with a concussion. She might be fine this coming Monday, but you never know with these concussions. This is not a good spot to be in for Asuka on the road to WrestleMania. She's out with a concussion from a kick from Shayna Baszler. The problem with a concussion is that she could be fine, but also not cleared by WWE Medical. So you never know. Ringside News was first to exclusively report that Asuka is completely out of action. They also heard that at the time they reported this, that she might have suffered a concussion, but that was not confirmed then when they reported it. This report certainly changes things for Asuka. WWE has penciled Asuka versus Charlotte Flair in for the Monday Night Raw Women's Championship. I guarantee you there's absolutely nobody that gives a single solitary shit about that match happening at WrestleMania. None. What you should do here is cut your losses with Asuka. Have her out, have her sit out, have her miss WrestleMania. If she's not cleared, don't clear her. Have her miss WrestleMania, strip her of the fucking title. You've done absolutely nothing with Asuka anyway. She hasn't defended the title at all in 7 months on pay-per-view. So how important is that title to management? Not very, unless it's with Charlotte. So strip her of the title. She misses WrestleMania. That's sad. You'll get over it. You're not going to lose sleep over it. Don't worry. And WWE, all they have to do is have a gauntlet match of sorts, or a six-pack challenge, or something along the lines of a fatal four-way. Maybe have qualifying matches to get into the four-way, make it a little interesting. Just strip her of the fucking title. Put Charlotte in there. Put Rhea in there. Put, who else can you put in there? You got Peyton Royce, who's advocating to be in there. Put Naomi in there. Make it, give some of the more notable women on this show an opportunity. Bring Rhea in. Why are you waiting until after WrestleMania to bring Rhea in? I understand you might want that to be Charlotte's first feud, but, I mean, fuck that. You might as well just give her the championship now, because putting the title on Charlotte will do absolutely nothing but kill all momentum completely. They have barely any right now. It's going to drive people away when they see Charlotte win the championship. Just give the title to Rhea. Charlotte doesn't need championships anymore. Rhea, Charlotte, Peyton, Naomi, whatever. You want to do Ruby Riott? Put Ruby in there. Or she's on SmackDown. I don't know where the fuck these women come from, man. I don't know. You got to do something. Asuka and Charlotte is not it. And if Asuka's got to sit out, you might as well just play up Rhea Ripley. Play up the fact that Peyton Royce went on Raw Talk and cried her eyes out about not getting pushed and not getting an opportunity, and the fact that all these women are getting all the same women are getting all the opportunities. Do something different. This gives you an opportunity to do that. Charlotte Flair, speaking of the Android Queen, she says that the WWE angle with her dad and Lacey Evans did not make sense. Oh, really? I don't need you to tell me that. I don't need you to tell me that. I'm fully aware it didn't make sense, Android. She says about this angle with Ric Flair and Lacey Evans, it's definitely not where I thought my 2021 was going to be, but I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about Monday's promo segment where she engaged in a promo one-on-one in the back with her father. Where it goes, I don't know. Clearly, it's over. Lacey's pregnant. She's off TV. Rick is off TV. Now they can give Charlotte Flair the proper push that they wanted to. Obviously, there's going to be a different direction now because my stepmom can't wrestle. Ha, ha, ha. I thought him and Lacey worked well together. I understood it. I got it. I think my biggest struggle was, well, I'm the daughter of the dirtiest player in the game. Why can't I be the dirtiest player in the game? First of all, the fact that she called Lacey Evans her stepmother, man, Jesus Christ. You're just better off just not talking about it. Seriously. You're not funny. Why can't I be the dirtiest player in the game? You're the most unwanted player in the game, I'll tell you that much. How or why would I fall for his antics if I've already been on camera with him and he was my manager, and that was tremendous? I grew as a performer. It took me to the next level, but why am I not the dirtiest player in the game? I was throwing a fit. I don't understand. I can't fall for this. It doesn't make sense, but I think whatever emotions that were coming through on screen, whether it be frustrated or angry, the promo on Monday definitely brought out a different side to me the last couple weeks. I think that did exactly what it was supposed to do. Charlotte Flair is living in her own fantasy world, folks. It did nothing. It did nothing for Charlotte Flair. It did absolutely the opposite of what it was supposed to do. And it's something that I honestly feel the fans are in agreement with me. She absolutely is a detriment to that entire division, no matter what show she is on, man. She is so overexposed to a point where she's physically doing harm to not only the division, but major harm to her credibility. Get her off of television. She was ruined by WWE's blind fucking blonde love. That's what they did. Just get her off TV. I have nothing more to say. And finally, guys, Peyton Royce breaks down, frustrated with her spot in WWE. Peyton Royce voiced her frustration on Raw Talk after Monday Night Raw went off the air. Royce is frustrated. Yeah, so am I. Anybody watching Raw would be fucking frustrated. Frustrated due to her feeling that her talents are not being displayed on television. She also brought up Raw and its champion Asuka going down with a tooth injury and a concussion. Feels like the spot keeps going back to the same old people instead of going to new stars. Oh, really? Who scripted this for you to say, Miss Royce? I'm about to set one thing straight once and for all. I've been quiet, but closed my mouth, and I'm not here to hide my talents. In fact, my talents are hiding behind the opinions of others. But why not just let me go? Just let me go and see what happens. Asuka is injured, and that sucks for her, but when a talent goes down, a spot opens up, and that spot is massive. So why not me? Why does it always have to be the same old, same old? I packed up my life, moved across the world with not a lot of support system to chase this dream. For what? To get stuck in the locker room and watch them do what I do better than 98% of them? So Peyton Royce thinks she wrestles 98% better than the entire women's roster. Maybe the Lanas and the Dana Brooks and the Taminas and the Billy Kays. But 98%, I think your number is way off, Miss Royce. And that 2%, I sure can give them a run for their money. Sure. At this point, she started to get emotional while talking about how personally she takes this to be overlooked. It actually hurts, she says, when you know deep in your soul you are destined to be where you are, striving for what you deserve. My potential haunts me. When you're striving for something you really feel you deserve, this is where I am meant to be. My patience has been running thin for quite some time. Yeah, I know. Yeah, me too. So stop wasting my time and give me Asuka. I will say this. I watched Peyton Royce. I don't have much to say because I want to get the fuck out of here. Okay? Peyton Royce, this was probably the best promo she's cut in her entire life. Did it come off as genuine? The words were genuine. The delivery was so-so. If you want my honest opinion about it. The delivery was forced. The words clearly were worked into the script to give you the perception of reality. This is what she really feels. But it's a scripted promo. WWE would never allow her to go on Raw Talk or any of their programming and say this just from her being her. This was clearly scripted for her to go out there and say, now, does this give people hope that they may be doing something with her? Who knows? WWE has done this same old song and dance with many different fucking people. The McMahons came out here and said that we are now the authority. How long did that last? 0 weeks. WWE does things to simply get people talking, and they don't bother backing anything up. They have no intention of backing anything up. This is one of those things where I feel that WWE was wanting to get some social media traction. How do we make this show interesting? How do we get people talking about Monday Night Raw because it was such a terrible program? Let's have Peyton Royce go out there and cut a worked shoot promo to get people talking, but they have no intention of backing it up. Peyton Royce is not going to be a women's champion on Monday Night Raw. If she is, it's not lasting more than 2 weeks. She's not women's championship material. Not with Rhea Ripley coming to the show, not with Becky Lynch coming back. What are you fucking kidding me? So this Becky is back and Rhea's on the show mixed with Charlotte. You are finished. You ain't getting no Peyton Royce as women's champion. The delivery was forced. The words were genuine. She really feels what she's saying, but she was scripted to say them. That's it. Billy Kay, we had Mr. Graves, Corey Graves, go out there and say, Billy Kay's taking the ball and run with it, and Peyton Royce, she hasn't really done much of anything. Has she done anything on TV for herself to a point where you could physically see her in the ring as an equal to Asuka? He said this on After the Bell. The answer is no. Now, Billy Kay is no better, but she's got more of a spotlight and comes off more genuine to herself than Peyton Royce does. But Peyton Royce hasn't been given an opportunity. They broke her away from Billy Kay to put her in a tag team with Lacey Evans, and now that Lacey Evans is out pregnant, they're not even using Peyton Royce. After all the fucking reports that we read, that Vince is high on Bayley and Bianca, and Peyton Royce is in that discussion as well. Maybe she needs to go back to dyeing her hair blonde. She'd get a lot further than where she is now. The facts are in the fucking pudding. And I don't want to see Peyton Royce in the current version of Peyton Royce. She's trash. She is absolutely insufferable to watch. They got it right with her in NXT. When she was a solo act and she was genuine. She had this Poison Ivy feel to her. Now she just looks like everybody else. I can't tell Peyton Royce from fucking Mandy Rose. I can't tell Mandy Rose and Peyton Royce from Dana Brooke. I can't tell Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, and Peyton Royce aside from Lana. You guys are making a big deal about absolutely nothing, man. She breaks down and everybody's like, oh my God, push her. That's exactly the fucking reaction WWE wanted out of all you fucking people. She ain't going anywhere. When Becky and Rhea are there, Peyton Royce can kiss those opportunities even further. Goodbye. And that's exactly what I'm doing, man. I'm getting the hell out of here. Thank you guys very much for all your support. If you enjoyed the podcast, let me know what you think down below. Lots of stuff we covered today. Hit that thumbs up. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Helps me out. Helps me out on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys missed any of the content previously on the channel, links are down below in the description for all that you need. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Bonfire.com. Go and get your t-shirts. The Ridge. Ridge.com/script10 for 10% off. Go get yourself a nice Ridge wallet, or if you guys want a knife, you can go and get yourself a nice little pocket knife there from The Ridge. Capbeast.com as well. Go and hit up Cap Beast for all your custom-made logos and embroidered hats. And as always, guys, follow me on Twitter at JD from NY206. Guys, I will see you all right back here on Monday for a brand new week of WWE content. It's going to get busy. Don't go anywhere else, man. I got you covered all season long for WrestleMania. See you guys later.